I'm here with a guest who created the Forever Agent movement, who is the brains behind all the tactics and strategies within the Forever Agent concept, Mr. Allan Dalton. So Allan, before I turn it over to you to introduce yourself, I just want to say thank you for coming out and thank you for giving us the ammo we need to make a difference wherever your market is within the Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Global Network.
Well, Andrew, first of all, it's great to be here with you. I want to begin by saying something that I think would be very relevant to everyone in the audience. I'm part of the Forever Agent movement. It started with Gino and then Christy and then Wendy Durand and Bob Watson. It really takes a village, and we've got a lot of brokers, George Pazio, Ray Mesa, Candace Adams, Kevin Wagaman, and so forth and so on. We've got so many people that are part of this movement. So I just wanted to make that observation as we get going here.
Yeah, absolutely. People are probably already asking, what is the Forever Agent? And we will get into it. And you mentioned this is going to be a bit of an anthology because we have 40 plus talking points that each one of these points could be a 2-hour podcast in and of itself. And we'll get there. Right. So in the spirit of a comprehensive overview, an anthology, if you will, I want to dive into this. Now, I'm going to give away a lot of my secrets. If anyone's watched any of my content, I've been ripping off Allan's stuff for a long time, but we want to unleash the power of this stuff to the entire global network. I'm telling you firsthand, as one of the, I think we're the 7th biggest team at Berkshire Hathaway, this stuff works if you take the time to study it. So you're going to hear a lot of information, and it takes a serious focus on really digesting what Allan's going to share with you today, because if you take it seriously, you're going to find ways that this can really impact how you see the world, how you see the industry, how you see yourself, what role you play. So I'm going to jump right into it. Ready? Here's the first loaded question. It's a big one. You're the first person I ever heard talk about this, by the way, in my 12 years, which is, why do we need to evolve from the micro obsession to the macro mastery? So first, what's the micro obsession and what is macro mastery? What do you mean?
Well, the reason we have to become more macro, because we're doing a great job with the micro, is because all of the threats and future challenges that will continue to arise are coming at the industry at the macro level. Artificial intelligence, crypto, not that that's a threat, but that's going to be a transformational change. People discount, all fees are negotiable, as we both know, but hundreds of millions of dollars, I believe, will be invested into enticing consumers to select their agent on the marketing side based on ratings, reviews, and rebates. And these are macro changes. The industry has done a fabulous job at the micro level. The micro level is the interpersonal. It's the end of the funnel. It's after people come through the tunnel from the macro to the micro. And we've got many sales courses. We've got a lot of psychology of sales, personality profiling. If somebody leans forward, you should lean forward. If somebody crosses their arms, you should cross your arms, and profiling people. And that's all great in 7 different ways of closing, and the sense of urgency close, the alternate choice close, the Ben Franklin close. We've done a great job at the sales level, but I believe we have to evolve from not being overwhelmingly a sales industry to a sociology industry. We've got to go, in my opinion, from the psychology of sales to the sociology of marketing, social media, and content development, because that's where you have to first win the battle to engage consumers at the macro level.
You know, Allan, when I heard this concept, I used to fight you on this. I used to say, no, sales is so important. I'm a sales guy. Hey, I'm good at sales. If you're not good at sales, you're not going to be able to succeed. And Allan's not saying sales is not important. It's quite the contrary. He's saying, look, we got it. We understand that you have to have good interpersonal skills and you have to listen and ask good questions. But it's about thinking a little bit bigger and how to focus on not psychology, but more sociology. That's the key. Not psychology, but sociology. So talk a little bit more about these macro sociological elements that we all could brand ourselves better with.
Well, let me give you a specific example. In 1929, I wasn't quite alive back then, but in 1929, DISC was introduced by a gentleman by the name of William Marston at Harvard University. And as you probably know, it bases on 4 basic personalities, a D, an I, an S, and a C. And most coaching programs make that if not the centerpiece, one of the value components.
Oh, big time.
Okay, well, that's interesting. And so I believe that that's at the micro level. But what we have is that we have people who understand that that's a very accurate test. Myers-Briggs is an accurate test. But we have a lot of agents who have corrupted the original intent, and they're actually doing disc guessing instead of disc testing. They discovered that, boy, this is amazingly accurate in helping me to better understand my personality profile. And that's how corporations used it, Andrew. They used it as a self-discovery tool, and then they would be able to more effectively communicate, and the recipient would have a better understanding of their strengths, their weaknesses, their predilections. And everybody loved the test because it doesn't measure intelligence. It's not judgmental.
Right.
And there's great success stories in each of the four alphabet letters, okay?
Right.
But as I said, unfortunately, a lot of people are now using that to basically profile consumers as opposed to taking the similar amount of attention to understanding population segments at the sociology level. So that's great that we have DISC and we have NLP, and if somebody's auditory, how does it sound to you? Right. And if somebody, and people can even go further. We can go into numerology, astrology, and I actually did a workshop once on the difference between working with sociopaths and psychopaths, or left-handed and right-handed people. That's all at the micro level. We first have to be conversant and address the unmet needs of major swaths of the society. And that's what Steve Jobs said. Right. Steve Jobs said the key to success is not just market segmentation, but desegmentation. Look for the largest swath of commonality. Okay, who doesn't want to have an iPhone? Who doesn't want to go to Google? That's where we have to do a better job at the top of the funnel.
Well, I love what you said about DISC. And when you're comparing these things, I'm like, look, it's a valuable tool, but what people do is they pretend that since they were tested, that they're now a master of it, and they can immediately identify your personality. Like if I'm sitting here, because I went through DISC, hey, you're probably a C. I know you're in research and development, so you're probably really analytical. And I'm trying to label somebody. Look, people don't want people to do that to them. When I'm coming to your house to sell your house, you don't want me to come in to try to find out how I can judge you and how I can try to manipulate you based on. And the fact of the matter is, you can't do it anyway. I don't care how good you are, because you didn't perform the test.
So, but Andrew, the rationale would be somebody would say, "Oh, I'm doing this so I can better serve you." But that would be the response to that. But see, but otherwise, the industry has to make this decision that if this is so powerful, then we shouldn't be concealing this talent, this skill, this psychiatric skill that we've developed. Because if a person's taken a 2-hour course on how the brain works, or that psychopaths have a bigger frontal lobe in the part of the brain, or whatever it is, if we have acquired this deep, profound psychological ability, why is it being concealed? Why aren't we telling consumers? Why aren't real estate agents telling consumers, by the way, I want you to know I have developed the ability that at an open house, if 40 people come through within 5 minutes with couples, I'll be able to profile them and address them accordingly, because I have this acquired knowledge, okay, within a 2 or 3 day course, followed by chicken fricassee at a Holiday Inn. Why are we concealing this? How come we're not letting the world know that we've got this amazing skill? We've got to maybe rethink, if it's that powerful, let the world know that we've got this ability.
Well, I made the mistake of fighting Allan on it, because I am a believer in DISC, and so is he.
I'm a big believer if you take the test.
But what it boils down to is it becomes more of, I like the saying, I don't suffer fools lightly, but it is a fool's game. It's up there with astrology, numerology, and that sort of thing. Well, give me your birth date, and I'll tell you how I'm going to communicate with you too. It's just stop it. So, okay, so that's...
In other words, in one way of saying it, again, DISC testing, a big yes. DISC guessing, a big no.
Right. Same with visual, auditory, or tactile. There's all these little strategies you learn once you go through
the micro level.
At the micro level. We need to go more macro.
Exactly.
So give me, before we jump to the next topic, because this one's big, and this is going to be the topic of many future podcasts, give us some examples of the macro things we could be thinking of instead of trying to profile our potential clients at a marketing presentation.
Or to make sure you have the opportunity, because a lot of realtors will say this: I get 90% of all my listing presentations. Therefore, they don't need help at the micro level. They just need to have more presentations. That starts at the macro level.
That's my problem.
That starts at the macro level, okay? And not only that, 75% of homeowners, according to the National Association of Realtors, only bring in one realtor. Realtors have been trained how to sell and how to be interpersonal. That's in the DNA. They've done that masterfully for many, many years. For example, I sold life insurance for 7 years, and I managed it. And back then, we had DISC, we had NLP, we had 15 different ways to close, sense of urgency, take it away sale. We had all of that because we were a selling industry back then. Then they became financial planners, and now they're into more of a macro and a consultative industry. And I know there's something called consultative selling, but that again is at the micro level. And so the only examples, the examples that I can give you may be seen as outdated because I'm no longer directly in brokerage as you are. You've got one of the best teams in the country. I'm in research and development. And so I not only study today's trends and trajectories, I spoke at Inman on blockchain and crypto and the metaverse, but when I think of sociology, it takes me back to how I helped build my company to 60 offices. One of the things is that I came up with the idea of doing homes guides, and I brought this in 5 different languages, 6 different languages. We did them in Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, Russian, and English. Maybe that's 5. Here's an example of one in Chinese. This would be macro. So when we did this, we weren't thinking, well, which of the people who speak Chinese are Ds? Which one might be S's, okay? Because we never get to meet these people if we don't address sociological needs in terms of that. Then, for example, when you have listings in markets that are so-called expiring,
right?
And again, these are my only examples, so forgive me if this dates me, but I created the marketing upgrade system. So I was with Murphy, Better Homes and Gardens back then. So I created the Realist Upgrade Program.
Do you guys realize how good that is? If anyone here is calling expireds, why wouldn't you have your own program called the Realist Upgrade Program? Yeah,
because just look at the word that the industry uses, expired. Expired. No, let's use better terminology. Let me call somebody and say, Andrew, I'd like to come by and show you how we can upgrade your listing, upgrade the marketing.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to upgrade their own listing?
So then I created the marketing upgrade system. So it was all about how we can upgrade the marketing through a realist. We're going to upgrade the listing, and then I made it the marketing upgrade system. So this is sociology. This is a large swath of the community. When people talk about serving millennials, that's the combination of both demographics. Demographics would be the age.
Right.
Then there's psychographics, because millennials have a propensity for certain types of behavior.
Sure.
So the more that we serve large swaths of the community sociologically, then we're more likely to not be disrupted at that level. See, I was CEO of Realtor.com. That was at the sociological level, because what person didn't want more access to homes for sale? What homeowner wouldn't want more robust pictures and videos and virtuals and neighborhood information? This is the sociology. This is the marketing emphasis, and a lot of the coaching, because coaches can't develop marketing systems. They can't create your websites. They can't create your contact management system. So all they're left with is interpersonal accountability versus causing wonderful realtors like yourself to paint on a larger sociological canvas.
One of my biggest takeaways after spending the last 3 days with you now is that I've kind of mastered the micro. I'm good at the micro. I'm good at sales.
You're great at the micro.
And that's fine. And what I've kind of had the epiphany of is, because I wasn't focusing on it, I'm pretty bad at the macro. I don't have any programs that address the macro. And here's one mistake I won't make again. Allan pulls up these things. Some of them are from the 80s, 90s, whatever. I mean, you ran a ton of massively successful companies. And I said, oh, what is that from 1970? And what I found was he's so far ahead that he thought of the things that we're still trying to struggle to put into place now. He was already doing them in the 70s and 80s. Guys, principles don't change. Tactics do. And we're going to get into that. So he's not saying video is not important. Social media is important. But from a sociological standpoint, what swaths of the market are we attacking? And you didn't even say some of your most brilliant stuff, in my opinion, which is How about the lifestyle planning guide? How about moving with pets, moving with kids, upsizing, downsizing? Don't go into it. We're going to get to that. But these are all core macro things that the global network has provided for us. All this is in the Resource Center if you're a Berkshire Hathaway network member. And it's almost criminal that these agents aren't using it.
Well, Andrew, we're blessed, Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Global Network, that is, right, with having Wendy Durand, the Senior Vice President of Global Network Marketing, because Wendy is a marketing guru in every sense of the word. And that's why it's been a joy for me as a content developer and a visionary of consumerism, without being too self-platitudinous here. Wendy has worked with me and then with her team in developing all of those assets. And it's good that she's a avant-garde marketing person, because a lot of brands don't have the marketing talent that we have in Wendy. They approach marketing from the advertising level. Right. We have to make a distinction between advertising and marketing. TV shows, for example, like Mad Men, that was an ad agency. 50, 60 years ago, the word marketing wasn't in the popular lexicon because there wasn't research and development. There wasn't social media. People didn't do research. They didn't test trends and trajectories. It was all about advertising and selling. And just as advertising disciplines have evolved to marketing, the entire real estate industry, in my opinion, must evolve from more of a psychology of sales mindset, to be deliberately redundant here, to one of sociology and marketing, and a manifestation of this quite necessary shift can be found in marketing resource and all of the programs that Wendy Durand and her fabulous team have spearheaded under Christy Budnick's direction.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I got to give a shout out to Bob Watson, who we've been with for the last couple of days, because they're rolling out the Forever Agent group coaching. And that's going to be gangbusters for anybody who wants to dive in and really try to master this stuff.
Amen.
We're going to make it easy.
He's a brand treasure.
Yeah, we got so much talent. Our bench is so deep, it's borderline ridiculous. So switching topics, because that's a big one. We can talk about sociology or psychology forever. And by the way, it wouldn't get old to a student of the game. You got to be a student of this stuff, or else you might get left behind.
Well, you know, Socrates once said that a life unexamined is not worth living. I believe that a career unexamined is not worth having. A lot of people want to focus more just on the tricks of the trade. We need to get into the trade.
We need to not just serve communities, but more importantly, represent communities. Sounds like political talk. What do you mean by that?
Well, that's the wonderful thing about it, is that it is political talk. In my role in research and development, I not only research very forensically the entire real estate industry, I research other industries and other consumer-facing entities. And one of the most prominent consumer-facing entities would be the politicians. Of note is that something like 95% or more of Congress people get reelected each 4 years. Now, these Congress people, they are, it was 4 or 6 years, I forget, but they get reelected on every term. Right. Now, when Congress is polled, at times 10, 15, 20% of, only 10, 15, 20% of the public respects Congress in general. Why then do over 95, and one time it was almost up to 99%? There's no loyalty gap there. Why don't Congress people, why aren't they beset with the real estate industry loyalty gap? Here's why. Because they don't serve communities as much as they represent communities. Now, what's the difference? There's not a fiduciary difference, because politicians don't have a fiduciary responsibility to your community. If they want to put a cell phone tower in, you may hate it because they're not representing you, but they're serving. They're representing the community. They're not serving it, is what I'm saying. Okay, right. And so I looked up the definition of representation, and one of the classic definitions is representation means or can be defined as telling a story. Now, over the last 7 to 10 years, the concept of being a storyteller has captured the imagination of our whole industry.
Yes, it has.
You can't go anywhere without people either talking about what's your why, or you've got to be a storyteller, or I don't sell real estate, I sell lifestyle. That's been, if there was a word cloud, that's what we're dealing with in today's marketplace, right? But only a realtor can represent a community. Other adults can serve the community. I can own a bakery. We just went to the coffee shop. The owners of the coffee shop can also work on the July 4th parade. They could work in a soup kitchen. They could donate blood at the Red Cross Center. Everybody can serve the community. Only a realtor can represent the community, because only a realtor can be the storyteller of the community. But what's happening is that with the advent of video and the greater emergence of video, and when you couple the emergence of video with social media metrics that you should keep videos under 2 minutes or 90 seconds or whatever, 90 seconds doesn't give you enough time to capture Bel Air. See, no one can capture Bel Air. You can capture a snippet of it. So what we have is that we have a lot of realtors who are very wise to do this, pumping a lot of videos that also leverage them, that showcase them. But that's something that doesn't capture the imagination, and it doesn't tell the entire community that you are the spokesperson. And here's the other thing about, so that's representing as the storyteller. Even the mayor doesn't know the schools, the neighborhoods. In fact, I may not be right, but I'm convinced, Andrew, that most realtors will know more about their town than any home in their town. You know more about Bel Air, Andrew, than you'll ever know about any home you're putting on the market. That's the greatest untapped knowledge, experiential knowledge and wisdom that must be packaged and brought out to the community. So when people go to the community and say, which realtor in Bel Air does the best job of representing the entire town, it's you, Andrew. But the only way you're going to represent, you've got to understand, the only way we have access to people is through their concerns. So if you're strategic and at the macro level versus the micro level, you ask yourself this question: what is the common thread that every homeowner in Bel Air has in common? And the answer is quite simple. They all want their home values to go up. Is there a correlation between the perception of their town and the home values?
Absolutely.
Of course there is. That's why we've got to help more people do world-class videos, maybe 7 to 10 minutes, that basically become the storyteller of that town in such a powerful way that you'd want to rent out the local movie theater when they open up and showcase it to the town. So that's representing is storytelling. Serving is volunteering. People can never do enough. Doing a lot for charities, the Red Cross, networking, that's serving the community. Because over the years, I've seen thousands of realtors. When I ran Realtor.com, I checked out everybody's website. Thousands of realtors would say, serving the community for 20 years. Very seldom would I don't remember ever seeing one realtor say, representing the community for 20 years. That's what politicians do, representing the community.
You know, I've heard you say in the past, language is the clothing of ideas. And this is not just semantics. That is so powerful. So what we've covered so far is going from micro to macro, psychology to sociology, going from just serving, because look, everybody serves. Of course you got to serve. You got to play your part. But if you want to be a forever agent, and again, that's what this is about, you got to figure out how to represent places. And in my head, I'm thinking, wow, well, I do represent Canton, the neighborhood in Baltimore we were at the last few days. I represent Brewers Hill. I sure as heck represent Bel Air. I was born and raised here, moved back, got 3 kids here. I'm going to live here forever. So that's what I'm saying. You go deep with this stuff. Give it the time of day, because it's going to elevate you as an agent that doesn't have past clients but has forever clients. And we're going to come back to that.
Andrew, before we move on, let me also say this.
Sure.
The residents of Bel Air do not need Andrew Undem to serve their community. They'd love you to. Join in hundreds of others.
Right.
Every homeowner needs you to represent the community. And for example, if the Chamber of Commerce came to you and said, it's like I always say, Allan, how are you different? Rather than focus how I'm different, I'd rather focus how we have to make your property different.
Right.
I don't compete with other agents here in town, but your home competes. I actually cooperate, but your home doesn't cooperate. But not only does your home compete against other towns, Bel Air competes against other towns. So the way that I'm different is how we're going to make both your home different and distinctive, and the community. And when and so if the mayor of town came to you and said, Andrew, you're charismatic, you've lived here all your life, you're a natural spokesperson, who better would like to pay you? It wouldn't be enough for you. Would like to pay you $100,000 a year to be the director of lifestyles promotion in this town. Do you think you'd do a world-class video? Of course you would.
Right.
But many realtors are too busy just doing snippets, a little neighborhood, and they've got to be all over it. God bless them. And that's why I get 60 likes. No, there might be 5,000 homeowners. You've got to get 50,000. You've got to get 5,000 loves. And you're only going to do that if you represent the community with a world-class video.
Well, you know what they're too busy doing? They're too busy worrying, hey, he leaned in. Should I lean in? Hey, did I lean back? He giggled. Yeah. Do I start giggling now? Matching and hearing?
You're sounding like a D here. You're sounding like a D here.
Well, hey, I hope you go back and rewind that, because that's one of about, there's the list is so long of what we call Dalton's distinctive dialogues, and we own them at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. Thank God we do. But that's a powerful line. I've been using it. Hey, I don't compete with other realtors. I actually cooperate with them.
Exactly.
That's true. We're cooperating brokers. Everyone understands that in concept, but your house competes with other homes. And oh, by the way, your town competes with other towns. So instead of focusing on how I'm different, let's focus on how we can make sure your house and how we showcase the home's different. That's brilliant. Out of all the marketing proposals and listing presentations people have given, it's astronomically low, the amount of people who flip the script like that. And here's what every good salesperson knows. It goes way beyond the pop psychology NLP bullshit, okay? It's who's asking the right questions, who's actively listening. Actively listening.
Exactly.
And serving needs, because the only way to access people is through their concerns.
Absolutely.
All right, so I got to go to another point. You ready?
Yep.
I love that one, by the way. Serving versus representing. That's a core foundational principle.
And by the way, and one other added dimension to this is this. The real estate industry is obsessed with how it's different. How many times you hear the word differentiation in our industry?
Every day.
We're not equally devoted to how the consumer has to be different. Their home has to be different. And that's a tragedy, because that's really where the value is if you can let people know that you're focused on what makes their home different versus trying to defend what you're different, how you're different.
Right. It goes from, you're not presenting, you're collaborating. We need to be collaborating with our clients. Yeah. We're a team, we're a partnership.
Exactly.
It's not just me dancing for you the whole time. Why am I different? Why am I different? So I love this term. You got all the right terms that kind of make you laugh and you realize, hey, this isn't a joke. This is a real deal. Why do we need to evolve from search engine optimization, SEO, for those in the audience, evolve from search engine optimization to seek engine optimization?
Well, first of all, I respectfully caution you, Andrew, not to ever minimize any of these concepts to just their words. Okay. Because again, language is the clothing of ideas. There's years of thoughts and strategic thought that led to the words, okay? And in terms of search engine optimization, you can imagine, as the former CEO of Realtor.com, that was a concept that was continually in my lexicon and within my strategic purview. But here's the challenge right now. Last year alone, in 2021, there were you can Google this, there were $40 billion spent on social media. There's 1.7 billion websites. There's 7.8 billion residents on the planet. Billions of dollars are literally being invested to make sure that consumers will not find you, because they're being intercepted by larger scale companies. So you have to pay a referral, or what I referred to in my video, Say No to Real Estate Tariffs, a tariff. So that's a lot to do with search engine optimization. And I used to have search engine companies come visit me when I was CEO of Realtor.com, and they'd say, Mr. Dalton, we'd like to talk about search engine optimization strategies with you. So the first thing I'd always do is I'd bring them to my laptop. I said, well, let's search for you. Let's see where your company comes up. Your company doesn't even come up on the first page when I say SEO companies. Why would I ever listen to you when you can't even have your own company come up? Because it's very difficult to come up first other than in paid results, because you're competing with thousands of algorithmic scientists at Google. And so because of that, no one can dominate what is called search engine optimization, but you can dominate in seek engine optimization. So seek engine is using technologies, for example, like Shark Digital and others, emails, direct mail, even social media platforms, to be more proactive, because social media and search engine has become almost like the modern day version of what used to be called floor time,
right?
Where people are waiting for business to come to them. So that could be a separate podcast for an hour someday of all the different ways that somebody can use technology to seek business, as opposed to assuming that people are going to go to your website. Now, people will go to your website because they get to know you, to validate, almost like a business card. But for example, when I was, again, with Realtor.com, I used to visit large brokers, and they were very proud of their website.
Right.
I say, in fact, you don't realize how great your website is. Do you realize that according to the rankings, that your website is ranked at 10,542nd? Isn't that great? Your website is at 10,000. And that's one of the top real estate brokerage websites. Now, our website, we're at 47. Okay, so maybe you'd like to have us take some traffic and send them over to you. But the point is that no one's going to win the website. No one's going to win the search engine optimization game, Andrew. And no one's going to dominate in search engine optimization. But you can dominate seek engine because it's identifiable where homes live.
I want to spend some time on this because, look, you need to list to last, which is a stupid word that you taught me. Now, we need to go from listing presentations to customized marketing proposals. So take it from the top. Every time I get a chance to do one of my little gigs locally, I like to say, why are we calling them listing presentations? I do my best Allan Dalton ripoff because I just believe in it so much. So take it away with that.
Well, Andrew, first of all, there's nothing more important in life than confidence. I know as a basketball player that I always had confidence when I shot. And when I shot foul free throws, for example, even if it was the first two free throws of the game, I would always tell myself 37, 38, as if that was my 38th in a row. So I was always, and when I wasn't confident, recently I went skiing and I was no longer confident, and I fell twice and I banged my head. I split open my ski helmet in front of my grandkids who were laughing. They didn't even think if I might be hurt or not, because I don't have the confidence anymore that I used to have. Sure. How would it change a realtor's life if they were so confident that they thought it would be almost impossible for somebody not to say yes on a marketing presentation? They'd invest more in their careers. They'd do more social media. They might even knock on doors. They'd approach expireds if we get more expired listing opportunities. I don't think somebody can be supremely confident with the way the industry has taught them to think. In the 1800s, when a homeowner wanted to sell their home, they used to go to the general store in their horse and buggy, Andrew, and there'd be a sign that said, "List your home for sale." So the homeowner was the de facto listing agent. 150 years from now, what do you still think we call the person who represents the home seller?
That would be the listing agent.
The listing agent, okay? But I think realtors do a lot more than just list a home. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, of course.
So Confucius said all wisdom begins by properly naming things. Shakespeare said in Hamlet, suit the action to the words and the words to the action. Why are we the only profession that's putting down its value like this? Why are we stepping on our own ear holes? Why are we reducing our significance? One of the reasons why, for years, we have about 25% of the industry still using the word realtor, because you don't hear people say, hi, I'm a doctor, or I'm an engineer. Why do we have so many in the industry saying I'm a realtor? Because the most important thing that a realtor does historically is represent a homeowner, and they don't even say I'm the marketing agent. Even the buyer agent suggests representational value. But because we're still plagued with this underserved definition, which has been dragged for 200 years, that shows no value to the consumer. A lot of realtors say, I don't think the consumer really appreciates all that you do. How could they? You're the blame. You're calling yourself a listing agent. And because you call yourself a listing agent, or the other agent a listing agent, That leads to the greatest sin of all, listing presentations. And it's not just semantics. Every single consumer would rather a marketing proposal. No one's ever called an agent and say, can somebody come over and make a listing presentation? We want to have the kids up too so they can hear this. No, they want marketing proposals, but it's not just semantics. A listing presentation is about the agent. A marketing proposal is about the home. A listing presentation is performative. I want to help you get the best price in the shortest period of time with the lead. That's performative. A marketing proposal is collaborative. A listing presentation seeks to educate. A marketing proposal is to activate. But then it's got to be a customized marketing proposal. When somebody is that confident, then their whole mindset changes. They no longer, and some coaches still teach us, you're going on an interview. You're not going on an interview. Something like 92% of everybody that goes ever on an interview in their life doesn't get hired. Because if you think you're going there to be interviewed, Andrew, where do you think you're going to put the spotlight on? Yourself. So agents end up thinking that they're selling themselves, but they're defending themselves. The only people that, in my research, and I've researched all industries, the only people in my research that spend as much time trying to defend themselves, sadly, are people in prison seeking parole. And that's what they do. They bring their testimonials, they speak about themselves. It's all about their worthiness as opposed to how you're going to market the home. It's a marketing proposal, and it's not just semantics.
It's brilliant. I've completely changed my language pattern. I've completely changed the way we do our marketing proposals and how we collaborate with our homeowners. And we've got a pretty good track record. I mean, at any given time, we might have 50, 60, 70 listings and a bunch more coming.
That's to your credit.
So that's just, I mean, that's my life.
Exactly.
And that's what I've been trained is, hey, if you want to last in this business, you have to represent sellers. Because I can't represent 100 buyers. Because I'd be driving around. You know how expensive gas is, by the way? It's not realistic. But I can represent a lot of sellers. So that's great. So we covered that. We talked about evolving from listing agents to marketing executives. I think we got that one. And this is another, again, these are going to be future topics we dive into at a high level with workbooks, with training, with resources, with coaches, with guests from throughout the global network who are beyond qualified to speak on this topic. But since you created it, that's why you're number one. Here we go. This goes right in. Talking about marketing versus listing, we need to evolve from staging to merchandising.
Okay, staging, Andrew, is a transactional word, but it collides with research because the average homeowner lives in a home now from 10 to 12 years. And 95% of homeowners in research suggest that I did the research for my Move, Improve, or Relocate content. 95% of homeowners indicate that they're intending to do a home improvement. Home improvement is not about staging. Home improvement is about merchandising, adding a new kitchen, adding a new bedroom, raising the height of the ceilings, transforming the landscaping, putting in a swimming pool, doing solar panels. These have nothing to do with staging, but words lead to thoughts, actions, behavior, character, and your destiny. So when we talk later about what to say when somebody says, how's the market, I'm going to revisit the profound importance between only championing the word staging and not ever using the word merchandising equally, if not more so.
Yeah, that's a big one too. And it all comes back to the fact of being a forever agent where what we're trying to do is we're trying to serve our clients not just when they're transacting real estate. And we're going to talk about that too. If you want forever clients, you have to serve them not just when they're transacting real estate. And this lets you get upstream, top of funnel, macro level merchandising versus staging. Staging comes in at the very end. Hey, let us throw a couple couches in here. We don't like your furniture. Let's get this thing sold them out.
Right.
Well, there's a way to do it better.
Exactly.
The forever way. So we're going to keep going. Staging to merchandising. Well, merchandising would be superior. We need to go from social media to social media marketing. I think I know what you mean on this, but I think it's deeper than what the words led on. What do you mean by that?
Well, like most of these topics within what you've described as an anthology require more attention, but let me just give a cursory overview of what that distinction represents. Because a lot of realtors, a lot of the general public, I think, has never made the distinction between terms. In the same way that most people think the internet and the web is the same thing. They're not. The internet preceded the web by 20 or 25 years. But that's probably more of a distinction without a difference. It really is, because they become one and the same.
Right.
Social media, social networking, and social media marketing are not one and the same. Social networking is about making and sustaining friendships. Social media is about bringing content to these platforms. Social media marketing is monetizing these friendships and content. And there's a lot of research on precisely how to do that. But if an agent goes through their entire life just thinking they're doing social media, they may be less likely to do social media marketing. Now, that said, if somebody's not doing robust social networking, getting likes, having friendships, they're probably not going to be very successful. So, too, somebody could do robust content. I could hire the editorial writer on real estate for the New York Times. They may never have a transaction. Great content, no friendships, no
both.
networking. But then social media marketing is monetizing it. So if I'm doing content, for example, that says the impact of climate change 10 years from now, that may not be as monetizable as doing content, how to appeal your property taxes, how to get your home ready to selling, how to go from, how to move up effectively, how to move with children, how to move with pets. These are more relevant in terms of getting people to do transactions with you, as well as creating loyalty. So I think that all we can say right for now is that people have to be more thoughtful and challenge themselves. Is what I'm doing, is what I'm doing personal promotion, or is it marketing? Is it advertising or marketing? Am I doing social networking or social media marketing? Otherwise, all of these universities and all these corporations that spend billions of dollars in these distinctions are wrong, and we're right. I don't think that's the case.
I knew it was much deeper, because you don't take your thoughts lightly. When you put that down, I'm thinking, well, what does he mean by that? Because that sounds so simple. You got social media or social media marketing. Well, to add another dimension to that, Allan, it's like, I don't do social media that way. I mean, I post pictures of my kids here and there, but what I'm really doing is social media marketing. I do things on purpose. I do things because, look, we'll call it what it is. I'm trying to monetize this stuff. I want people to know that they're better off with me when it comes time to buy and sell a home. But the shift I'm making, and I want everyone at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices to know this, because you're going to see it. You're going to witness it. This is the first episode of the podcast. I'm going to start going macro. I'm going to start going the forever route. I'm telling you, that's going to feed me and my family and my team forever.
Amen.
Instead of just trying to chase deals. 'Cause I've been chasing deals for 12 years. Look, it worked. I'm kind of over it. I'd rather do it forever. So social media marketing versus just social media. Love it. Here's a big one. We need to go from business planning to strategic thinking.
Obviously, I'm not saying that anyone should ever forego business planning, because it's instrumental to success. I think Dwight Eisenhower once said something like, it's reckless to ever go into battle without a strategic plan, but when you get into battle, they're worthless.
Sure.
But that's not to say business planning is extremely important, and the people who do serious business planning do much better in this industry. But a lot of business planning is done without strategic thinking and research. For example, a lot of business plans are glorified goal-setting manifestos. Yeah. But strategic thinking, for example, would be this. What is my addressable marketplace? How many homes? Here's my mobility profile analysis. This triggers knowledge in terms of how frequently people are moving. Which neighborhoods are they moving more frequently? What are the unmet needs of the marketplace? What are the market segments? What percentage of people are downsizing, moving up? What percentage is luxury homes? What percentage is first-time buyers? If all of this research, then a business plan is conducted without adequate research. Moreover, what skills are required, what content is required for me to approach downsizers, people moving up, people relocating, diverse markets. And Christy Budnick has done a phenomenal job, as has Wendy, providing all of these resources, as has Rosalie Warner and Bob Watson, creating all of this different content and specialized approaches for these different marketplaces. But if somebody in the network is not aware of the range and the reach and the influence of these resources, They may have a coach from outside the brand that would just say, yeah, you've got to put together your business plan, but they may not walk them through these predicates. The predicates are strategic thinking and strategic research that then inform the business plan.
Can you imagine how valuable, how invaluable, to use one of Christie's famous terms, it would be to have someone like Allan help you go through the strategic thinking process before putting your business plan together? I wish I had it. I'm out here creating all kinds of videos, doing all this crazy micro stuff. And by God, we predominantly serve first-time home buyers in downtown Baltimore. We were hanging out the last couple of days. Can you imagine the type of marketing that we could make addressing their concerns with just a little bit of strategic thinking instead of just blasting it out? Like off the top, what should I be doing?
Well, let me tell you what I did. First of all, because the industry is transactional, we obsess over the terminology first-time buyers. But essentially, there's no such thing as a first-time buyer. For the most part, they're still in the category of renters. So I created the rent-to-buy assistance program. The rent-to-buy assistance program, we had brochures and information, and then we would meet with homeowners and say to homeowners, what are you willing to do to assist a first-time buyer, a renter, to become a first-time buyer? Will you pay down a point? Will you pay 3 months out of the lease? Then I had my telemarketing division contact all of the rental buildings. Then I get developments listed because I go to the developer and say, here's what we're going to do. Here's the strategy. These 3 other buildings along the waterfront, they're all rental buildings. Let's say your community is Riva Point or Newport, which I listed. It was 10,000 condominiums. I want to have my telemarketers, and we're going to do direct mail to everybody that's renting and tell them that the entire building has been pre-qualified to move up into this condominium building, and that we had all of the information, all of these things that they would receive, because now you're giving assistance. And then we went to home sellers when the market tanked. You've got to also have this market specific. When there was Stacy's, nothing was happening. Then we went to home sellers and said, you know something, we have a rent to buy. We'd ask this question, folks, there's all sorts of buyers. There's people that are moving up, downsizing, empty nesters, and people that are going from rented to buying. Which category of buyers do you believe is the most likely candidate for your $200,000 ranch home? Well, probably a first-time buyer. Okay, great. That's why we've created the rent-to-buy assistance program. And all you have to do is that you'd have to agree, would you be willing to pay a point? Now, we'll make this up in other ways. Would you be willing to pay them 3 months out of their lease? Will you do this? Will you do that? Okay. Will you pay for their moving? And see, now what we're doing is that we're solutionists. We're not just identifying that this is a good thing for somebody to do. We're providing solutions. That's why I created the move-up system, because I saw everybody else was just saying it's a great move-up market, but they didn't have a move-up program. They didn't have a downsizing program. All of this content that Wendy and I have created will never see the light of day sufficiently when people are still immersed at the micro level, talking about tie downs and, wouldn't you, couldn't you, shouldn't you, didn't you? Okay, see, that's the problem.
Well, so that's the difference between strategic thinking and business planning. And all I'm thinking is, wow, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Like you're talking about, and you said it before, your only access to consumers is through their concerns. Your address, this is all sociological, macro type issues. And right now, the biggest thing people have going on is interest rates. I said it on the mastermind call that I was fortunate enough to host with Bob Watson last week. I said, look, you can pay down the rate. If the concern's the rate, why don't you just negotiate the closing cost? Instead of taking the closing cost, the $12K, buy down the rate, and bang, we're back at 3%.
Exactly. But convert that into a program.
You're going to help me do it.
I will.
And you know what the big opportunity here is for all the forever agents? Who creates all the inventory, Allan? Who creates the inventory in the marketplace? New home builders.
Yeah, the builders.
You don't think if you sat down at a B2B level with one of these big nationals, I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of the nationals. The regional players are even easier, and the smaller builders, they love it even more. So you can't miss. And say, I'm going to create an incentive toolkit where we're going to go after the macro market. We're going to desegment, use some desegmentation techniques and strategically attack this marketplace. They're going to look at you like you have 4 eyes because they've never heard a real estate agent say it.
Exactly.
And it's not hard to stand out in this market if you use what the brand has created for us. Allan's already been doing this for decades and decades, and it worked, and it worked. You don't just end up as the CEO of Realtor.com because your ideas suck. You don't end up building 60 offices and 2,000 agents and somebody had to have it and paid you for it if your ideas didn't work.
You know, the other thing, Andrew, in terms of cultivating builders, I used to take out full-page ads in the 7th largest newspaper in the country in the real estate section that would say, our company salutes New Jersey's builders. Without the builders, we would not have an industry and you would not have a home. Next time you see a builder, thank them for their service, right? So it was creating all the goodwill. But that's another podcast. I could go on for hours in terms of how to secure developments.
Going from personal videos to community videos. Now, I like the attention. I do a lot of personal videos. I've tried to do some community videos, but I haven't done them right.
Well, it goes back to representing versus serving.
Right.
Let's start off with the mindset. I created, like I said, Town Advisor. I personally wrote about 60 community videos. I slaved over every word. But I used to ask audiences of real estate agents across the country this question: what do you think is more important when you do a community video? Do you think it's the images or the words? They always said the images. So then I would show them videos with just the images, and they were all the most beautiful images. They were all unimpressed. That's just waves. I've seen waves before. You could show Waikiki Beach, it wouldn't make it. I've seen waves. I've seen a Starbucks. Oh, there's a train station. There's a high school facade. There's a ball field. There's a mountain. There's people skiing. It's meaningless. Just like a movie, other than the one that won the Oscar, unless it has words, it means nothing. Then I showed them, then I had them listen to the videos without the images. I want to move there. Now, I was driving down the New Jersey Parkway, and I'm from Boston originally, but I lived in New Jersey for 20 years, then California for 20 years. Now I live in Connecticut. But I was driving down the Parkway, Andrew, and I saw a picture of Albert Einstein. And it occurred to me the two most notable geniuses in America, Albert Einstein and Thomas Edison, both voluntarily moved to New Jersey. So I created a video, a Move to New Jersey, a Genius Decision. Because every video I do is a story. It's got to have a title. It has to have a theme, and then you've got to back up the theme. And then I countervailed all the negative perceptions. A lot of people didn't realize that New Jersey was #1 in mental health. That's not what they would think. It had the #1 rated golf course in the world, Pine Valley. It was #2 in this, #3 in this, #1 in drinking water, and so forth and so on, because the only perception they had was of the TV caricatures of the Sopranos and the like. So you could Google, if somebody wants to Google New Jersey Genius Decision, you'll see what that means. But I mostly do towns. Like, for example, I did a video for one of my former clients in Connecticut, in the town I live in, Fairfield. Now, when I write that, I write it like this: Fairfield, Connecticut, romantically and recreationally situated adjacent to the ecologically flourishing Long Island Sound. Now, no homeowner is ever going to say, we live in Fairfield. We're romantically and recreationally situated adjacent to the ecologically flourishing Sound. But if you're going to presume to be a storyteller for that town, then you've got to have the eloquence that matches lighthouses, yachts going by. It can't be, hi, I'm Bob at the bakery with Susan. Susan, tell us about your bakery, because no one's going to move from New Jersey versus Connecticut or Connecticut versus Long Island because somebody has better pizza. So these are very comprehensive, yet 7 to 10 minutes. Now, I'm not going to watch anybody's video for more than 30 seconds if I'm not interested.
Right.
But if somebody has somebody do a wedding video, they're not going to do it for 90 seconds because you can't tell the story. So this is not for social media. These videos are not for social media. These videos to get in the hands of 5,000 homeowners. And when a homeowner says, Allan, who's going to see this? Well, this isn't going to be the reason why people find out about the town. That's range and reach. This is going to influence people that come through the funnel. Now, this is the micro, but it's the macro because everybody in town and every person who shows an interest in your home is going to see this. And then they can't even imagine having somebody market their home without attaching this world class. They literally, I'm not hyperbolic in anything I ever say. I'm intense, but not hyperbolic. They literally have tears in their eyes when they see the way their town is being described. That's the way to approach community videos.
I don't think I have anything to add on that.
Okay.
Other than the fact that I get credit for doing a lot of videos. I was on Bomb's Video Influencer Nationwide, and we pride ourselves on videos. And I'm proud of what we've done. It's refreshing and exciting to see there's so much we can do better. And what's even more exciting is knowing that you're going to help me do it, and you're going to help the brand do it. And it's all in the materials, and it's going to be forthcoming, and it's all part of the Forever Agent movement. Each one of these topics are the cartilage that's going to hold the Forever Agent movement together. And I can't stress enough, this is a movement. So if you like what you're hearing, stick around. Because if you do these things, you can't help but succeed in this business. All right, ready? How do we go from being disrupted to being the disruptor? That's speaking my language. I want to disrupt others. I don't want to be disrupted.
Well, first off, we have to understand what we mean by disruption in real estate. Many years ago, people used to talk about disintermediation, which meant the elimination of the middle person.
Right.
That didn't happen. What happened instead was disruption, but it was only buying side disruption, because now something like 95% of all, consumers begin their search online. Right. We have withstood that. We've withstood that for a few reasons, because when I was CEO of Realtor.com, 98% of the people who came to our site clicked on Find a Home, and only 1 or 2% clicked on Find a Realtor, and they were realtors. But that wasn't onerous for this reason, Andrew, because the buyer doesn't determine the fee. That could change, but historically they haven't. Buyers don't generate listings as much as listings generate buyers.
Right.
Buying side disruption and the internet also allowed real estate teams to form, because now team leaders could better control the destiny of leads. And so, and create teams. And also it allowed brokerages to reduce their classified advertising spend. In fact, I created a campaign, homes for sale shouldn't be kept classified, to convince home sellers that we shouldn't be doing classified. So buying side disruption was not onerous. The only place where third-party portals, and as you've heard me say, cyberspace carpetbaggers can now migrate to further monetize investments online, is to disrupt the listing side. They're going after listing side rainmakers. And they're going to do that, even though all fees are negotiable, through discounts, rebates, and reviews.
So they're coming after me.
They're coming after you in a big way. So therefore, what you have to do is disrupt them by creating relationships. Because, for example, if somebody's a family doctor, we can get all the wisdom in the world from my friend and former colleague who founded WebMD, Mike Long. They can go to WebMD and get democratized medical advice, and they'll get more medical advice than they'll get from any doctor, but that's not going to preempt the doctor relationship.
No.
So what we have to do is that we have to fortify, codify, and memorialize relationships through lifestyle planning and other things that we'll get to, in order to preemptively inoculate the hundreds of millions of dollars that are going to be invested, along with prop tech, blockchain, to basically disrupt the value of a realtor and eviscerate the importance of listing side rainmakers.
The fact that you're so confident that we can be the disruptor instead of the disrupted is refreshing to me. And you don't hear it's all doom and gloom. And we talked about this a little bit in the past, not to go too far off topic, but Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, you even said, this brand, if I had this brand back in the day, if someone knows how to leverage our brand, it's unlike any other. And I said, well, please tell me. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm still new here. I've been here for less than 2 years. And we talked a lot about that. I want to know, if I'm not going to be disrupted, what types of things can I do to leverage our brand on top of all the things you just said, creating the lifestyle planning guides, a lot of these other tactics and strategies. What can I do with the brand, with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices, it's going to create that moat that Warren Buffett talks about?
Well, it starts with macro messaging. I've given you a few suggestions. I think you're beginning to incorporate one. And